So the task of finding one children's book that was my favorite as an adult was quite challenging for me. As I looked through my bookshelf at school and at home, I was constantly pulling out several books and not being able to choose one in particular. But I did notice that all of the books that I did pull out all had some deeper meaning behind it and some character building. The story that I did choose as my favorite is a new one. It is titled Not Norman, a Goldfish Story, and it is by Kelly Bennett. This is a story about a boy who has a pet fish named Norman. And it starts off by saying, when I got Norman, I didn't want to keep him. I wanted a different kind of pet, not Norman. And it goes through why this particular child does not want Norman as a pet. So he wanted a pet that could run and jump. So he goes through several different pets and talks about the differences between his fish and the animals that he would have rather had. And as we go through the story, he begins to ask his friends if he can trade Norman for one of their pets, and then he brings in the pet for show and tell, and he's upset that no one's paying attention to Norman. And then finally, at the very end of the story, he decides that Norman is a good pet to have and that he's always kind of has his back, even though he's calm and always in a bowl. He knows that he's not alone with Norman nearby. So this was or is one of my favorite children's books this year, and I really just like the character building in that students can really connect with it and think about what they have that they might not want, or if others have something better than them. So it has a lot of connections built into it. And character building in that the character changes from the beginning of the story to the end. So the dialogue that I can have with students in grades, really any grade level. I teach kindergarten, so it's a great read for a kindergartner. And I really just like the pictures and how the illustrations and his face depicts kind of how he's feeling, and him with like behind the bowl. And then as you continue the story, the background and the illustrations change to a darker feel. So it becomes dark, and then he's faced with a problem and he's scared. So the illustrations really depict how Norman is feeling, and then it goes back to being a bright, cheerful when he figures out that Norman is a good pet to have. So yeah, I really like Not Norman, a Goldfish Story, and I recommend it to you. Thanks.